we know that trauma impacts the lives of millions of people every day, children to adults. The very first thing you can do to help the people that you see hurting around you is to understand what's happening in our brains and our bodies when we're under stress. And that's it, because stress, that toxic stress that we talk about a lot in all of our jobs and our relationships, is really rooted in trauma. So the first thing would be understanding the effects of that. And then two would be understanding that trauma is a perceived experience. So I cannot define anyone else's trauma. That's something that they've experienced for themselves. So they perceive it that way. When I understand that, I recognize the signs and symptoms and their behaviors, then I know that they're dealing with something and I can be compassionate toward that.
Hey, my name is Mari Dannenburg, and I am a foster adoptive parent. We started the process in 2014. Just always having been interested in foster care, I kind of knew what to expect. I mean, I think the biggest eye-opening thing for me, though, was how trauma actually impacts the brains of children.
I'm Skyler Curtis. I'm a high school English teacher and a trauma-informed educator. I was working with and wanting to work with kids in the one place that I knew could be a stable environment, even as they were moving around from home to home or in these traumatic situations.
I think there should be a better balance of looking at the kids' best interests, and is prolonging this detrimental to them, because a lot of them go back and forth and it's a lot of chaos and upheaval and they don't have structure. And so that affects their development and their relationships and attachments.
I take a relationship first approach. Attachment's the foundation for healing of trauma. And so my classroom is set up before we ever talk about learning, before we ever begin a single lesson, we establish a relationship and a feeling of safety in the four walls of my classroom. And my students know that when they walk into my four walls, they play by different rules than they do in the rest of the world. And it's a place where they can feel safe. And only when we feel safe can we learn.
We've been very fortunate to have family that's extremely supportive and that has taken the time to learn about trauma and how to deal with kids that have experienced trauma so that we can take a break.
So as a foster parent or an adoptive parent, understanding that a child has to feel safe before you can establish a relationship, before you can establish rules, before you can establish anything beyond that, learning anything, they have to feel safe. And for each person, that's going to look different. It's going to look different based on their experiences.
I think the biggest need that I see is for people to learn about trauma. I see it in the schools, just having to educate teachers. We've been blessed with a lot of teachers that understand it, so they know how to deal with my kids, but also some that don't. And it really does make a huge difference.
When we heal ourselves, when we go through that, what makes me feel safe? What am I afraid of? Why am I acting this way? And how do I manage that? Then I can be open and compassionate and developing relationships for others.
If you are at all inclined to do it, I just say do it. Don't think about it. Jump in, ask questions, start small, respite, become a buddy for a kid, anything, just do it. You will be changed, and it's like the best thing ever. It's hard, but it's the best thing ever. Like now that I'm here, now that I'm sitting in this seat, I feel like our journey through foster care was God's design to bring us closer to Him.
We get to be the hope bearers for those in pain. We have to believe, and we get to believe, that healing is possible and that there can be thriving lives, that generations can be improved.
The one way we've shifted is we've adopted now. So as much as I would love to keep fostering, we don't have the bandwidth. So I think our passion has been more to support other foster families, to educate, to encourage, to uplift, support any way we can. other people going through it, and to share our story, because I think that's, important, so people can feel like they can do it. It's definitely changed my view on who God is, and loving and being able to love unconditionally, and knowing that a child might leave you, and being okay with like giving your all to that.